Last month, I showcased some Pocket PC applications, media players, web browsers, instant messengers, IRC clients, things of the such, but maybe you want to do something a little bit leaning more towards network analysis and scanning. So in this segment, I'm going to show you some really useful Pocket PC networking applications. Here we have the Pocket PC plugged into my flat panel. Again, I'm running in landscape mode, so some of these applications might not line up appropriately. I have to run in landscape mode, otherwise this isn't going to line up properly on my flat panel. Also remember that I am running in mirror mode, so the CPU on my Pocket PC is being really drained badly, so some of these applications might not run 100%. Let's begin. Of course, if you have a Pocket PC that has Wi-Fi, the first thing you're going to want to do is scan for Wi-Fi. And with that is Wi-Fi FOFUM 2.0. I really like Wi-Fi FOFUM 2.0. It actually works a lot better than Mini Stumbler. It is more compatible than Mini Stumbler. It's more reliable than Mini Stumbler. And the only downfall to this is that it requires .NET CE 2.0, which means you got to go and download the .NET CE framework and install it on your Pocket PC, which tends to eat up a bit of space. But nonetheless, it works just as good as NetStumbler, or if you're familiar with Kismet. When you first get it, you have to go to your device and make sure you select your appropriate Wi-Fi card. Otherwise, you're not going to get any results, of course. This can actually spit out a report in NetStumbler format. It can spit out in XML format. It can spit out in plain text format. Nonetheless, it's very compatible and very useful. There's also something called Pocket Warrior, which I'm not going to showcase because, in my opinion, it just doesn't work as good as Wi-Fi FOFUM. I haven't seen a Pocket PC that Wi-Fi FOFUM cannot be run on. Mini Stumbler will not run on my Pocket PC, so I can't showcase that to you. Once you're actually connected to a network, you're going to want to do some scanning. You're going to want to go poke around. And for that, we have VX Utilities. VX Utilities has a whole bunch of fun things. It's got something like ipconfig, where you can go and get your IP address of the connected network. You can get your wireless adapter name, your IP address, subnet mask, all that fun stuff. It also has a ping, so you can actually see if hosts are online. It has a ping sweep, which you can use to determine if multiple hosts are online. If anyone's running a decent firewall, it's not going to work out too good. It has traceroute, always useful. It has a port scanner. Pretty much it works, but if anyone's running a firewall, again, it's not going to work out too good. It has a DNS auditing utility, which is always useful whenever you're on a network. It has Wake on LAN, which, to tell you the truth, I really haven't gotten a chance to use it, so I can't tell you if it works too good. There's a finger client. Hopefully, if you're unfamiliar with all these terms, you're on Google right now searching them. But not that anyone uses finger anymore. It has Get HTML, which is always good for getting HTML info of web servers and web hosts. It has a hostname lookup, always useful when you're across a Windows network with shares. Quote of the day, not that anyone uses it unless you're on a Unix machine or a Linux machine, but this is my way of figuring out if someone is actually on a Unix or a Linux machine. It's got time service, not very useful for me since my Pocket PC usually keeps pretty accurate time, or to find out if someone's running a time server on their network. It's got general whois information, which is always very, very, very useful. Password generator, I really don't have to say anything about that. It just generates, like random passwords for whatever stuff you want to put passwords on. And an IP subnet calculator, which is actually very useful if you want to go and figure out what kind of subnet someone's on, so you can actually scan them a little bit more accurately. All in all, these are all pretty much basic applications that'll be bundled with your standard Windows operating system or your Unix, BSD, or Linux operating system that whatever Pocket PC you have is probably going to be lacking. Next is the VX Simple Network Management Protocol client. I don't have SNMP on my network, so I can't showcase this to you, but if you're familiar with SNMP, then you'll probably want to get this. If you're not, forget about it. Forget I ever mentioned it. And then we have VX Sniffer. VX Sniffer is really great. Unfortunately, as you can see by the registration, it costs $60. I have not found another network sniffer for Pocket PC. If you're going to go and buy this, also invest in a decent-sized storage card, because it's a network scan, it will eat up a lot of space. Of course, you have to go in, just as before, into the properties and make sure you have your appropriate network adapter selected. You can actually sniff across pretty much anything. Hell, I can even sniff the infrared and Bluetooth. So this does have a lot of potentials. Ethereal, whatever you call it, which is now called Wireshark either way. I don't know why I'm arguing with a camera about this. Either way, this is not Wireshark. I do not know if this can actually capture IV packets for web cracking. I've never tried. I don't care. Don't ask. All in all, it's the only packet sniffer I've actually found for Pocket PC, so if you really got a hard-on for a packet sniffer in your pocket, this is the one to buy. Believe it or not, Resco File Explorer has an interesting little feature in this. I've actually explained this in the previous episode, but it has the ability to scan a network for shares and map them to your Pocket PC. So if you got Resco File Explorer, great. There's also a plugin for Resco File Explorer called BSoD, which I don't want to get into the specifics right now. But it's an FTP client for your Pocket PC. So if you're going to go with a Resco File Explorer, you've already got a Windows network scanner right built in. The next thing I want to showcase is something called Pocket LAN. Pocket LAN is a pretty useful application. Unfortunately, as you can see, it's not free. You got to pay, I do believe, $15 for it. Once it loads, I can show you what it does. It can actually scan network shares. It can scan IP ranges. It can scan. It can do ping sweeps. It can do trace route. Tell you the truth, for $15, it does it pretty good, but it's a little bit unreliable. The only strong point that I like about this is the fact that it actually outputs stuff to an HTML file. Other applications that are payware won't output towards any kind of file whatsoever, so keep your pen and paper ready. The next thing I wanted to show you is vMobile Network Browser. This is actually a really good application. It'll scan your network for shares, and it'll do some rudimentary pinging and traceroute and all that fun jazz. Here we go on my network. There's one of my computers. Yay! Well, this is as far as I'm going to go with that, because pretty much it does the same thing as Pocket LAN, but that one just has an easier interface, and I think it's a little bit more reliable. Unfortunately, I think it's $17 to $20 for a registration code. Next on our list is an application that shows promise, Kane. We all know Kane. We've showcased it on earlier episodes of the show. Right now, it does not do ARP poison attacks, so I hope I didn't give you a Woody thinking that you could from your Pocket PC. Mainly what it sports is a lot of hashing decoders and a lot of local password decoders, and it allows you to decode saved passwords on the Pocket PC itself. So this goes to show, if you find a Pocket PC that belongs to someone and you need to go and get into their records and email and Outlook so you can harvest information to find them, so you can be a good Samaritan and give their Pocket PC back, not do identity theft and other illegal activities, this would be the program to do it. Like I said, Kane is showing a lot of promise. It's still in early versions, so unless you're doing password decoding and password cracking, which, to tell you the truth, I could care less for, this would be the program to do it with. Next on our list is, once Resco File Explorer loads up so I can point to my documents, is Pocket Putty. If anyone's familiar with Secure Shell and the PuTTY or P-U-T-T-Y terminal, here it is for Pocket PC. It's a little bit on the clumsy side because you got to hunt and peck with, a stylus on an on-screen keyboard, but nonetheless, if you need Secure Shell in your pocket, Pocket Putty, all the way, baby. There's also Netcat. Not going to really get into Netcat because Netcat, or the what people call the network Swiss Army knife, can do a whole lot of stuff. So if you're familiar with Netcat, you got the power of Netcat in your pocket. Of course, no networking admin would be anywhere without some kind of web browser. My browser of choice, of course, is Opera. There's also Pocket Internet Explorer, or also known as Pi, P-I-E, and Minimo, or Mini Mozilla. Minimo is still in beta. Things don't line up properly, and things aren't working 100%, but it's free. Opera is not payware. It is payware. I don't know how much it costs, but it works. It works well. Right now I endorse Opera until Minimo comes out. Completely forget about Pocket Internet Explorer, because if you're doing like HTTP config pages like routers, a personal example I like is I can use Opera and Minimo to log into a VLC control panel over HTTP on my home network via Wi-Fi to control my VLC. You can't do that using Pocket Internet Explorer. You can only do that using Minimo and Opera. There's also built into Windows Mobile 5. I'm not sure if it's on Pocket PC 2002 and 2003, but Terminal Services Client. I'm just going to go ahead and connect to the one I got running at my house, and there it is, Terminal Services. What's really great about this is it's Terminal Services in your pocket. What sucks about it is it's small. I mean, it's really hard to read the screen, and hunting and pecking on an on-screen keyboard is kind of clumsy, but if you need some kind of terminal services or remote desktop, it usually comes built in with the Windows Mobile 5. There's also VNC for Pocket PC, which I'm frantically trying to hunt down. I hope I actually installed it. But there are two VNC clients for Pocket PC. And I don't think I got them installed, but it's the same as terminal services. I mean, if you're familiar with VNC, then there you go. IP address, password, remote desktop into the machine. Having a Pocket PC with a 320 by 240 or 640 by 480 display, while your remote display is like 1024, 768 or higher, it is a real pain in the ass. But if you need VNC in your pocket, go to the show notes. I'll put the links to the two VNC clients that I recommend. They're actually just called VNC Client for Pocket PC. I don't think they actually have a real name. So this is just a roundup of some of the Pocket PC networking applications that I've got on my Pocket PC that I use in the field personally. Whenever I'm scanning for Wi-Fi and I'm actually scanning for networks and doing some fun stuff out in the field. Alright, that's the end. Go away.
Hi guys, it's Pickle. Today I'm going to teach you guys how to play your own games without having to have the CDs installed and not using cracked EXEs. The reason why I wanted to show this to you guys today was the fact that a lot of the cracked EXEs are being picked up by cheat protection software, such as Punkbuster or whatnot, and often don't allow you to play games online, or they even include spyware and whatnot. This method I'm going to show you doesn't alter the game files in any way. You just create a mini image of the CD that you can run. It also allows you to update the game without having to revert back to a previously saved EXE, or have issues trying to update over them or whatnot. So we're going to be using Damien Tools, Alcohol 120, and also some add-ons for Damien Tools. There's a couple methods of doing this. I'm going to show you some basic ways of making your own mini images, and also that you can find them anywhere on the internet. So let's get started. First of all, you want to, of course, download Damien Tools, which is right off the main website. And there's a few add-ons you need to download. So we're going to download some third-party add-ons for the version 4 series. And the first one you want to get is Secure ROM Loader. And this is this one right here. Just want to download that. It comes in a zip file, and it's just an exe file, and I'll explain how to use that later. And the second one you want to get is right here at the bottom. It's called Damien Script, and it allows you to basically write macros that you can use for creating special scripts that it'll run, and I'll go into that later as well. So just download those two programs and install them along with Damien Tools, and we'll get started. So the first thing I want to point out is once Damien Tools is installed, it'll probably require a restart or whatnot. So there's a few things you need to set up. the first thing you need to set up is the actual CD-ROM drive itself. Otherwise it'll get blacklisted really easily. So you just want to right click on it and go to virtual CD-ROM DVD-ROM drives and go to the device 0, which I already have an image mounted on, if I can get it, and just go set device. Now you want to, we'll reset this so you can see it. It always comes up with this, it's just a random creation of letters or whatever, and it's been blacklisted by most of the protections, so we're just going to change it, and we're going to make this one BenQ, if I can type, and the model number, something that includes a bunch of letters and digits. I'm just going to copy the model number of my wireless USB wireless adapter that I have sitting on my desk here, so I'm going to just do that because it's a believable model number. You can make the same one if you want, whatever you want. Just go OK. Sometimes it takes a long time to apply it, and I'm just going to fast forward to when it's done because who knows how long it's actually going to take. Okay, so it's done. First of all, I want to apologize for the huge resolution I'm using. It just makes it a lot easier so that you can see what I'm doing and you can actually follow along. So today we're going to be making a copy of Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. The problem with a lot of these newer games that use Secure ROM version 7.0 is that they're very, very hard to create mini images for. So I recommend that rather than wasting your time trying to make them, just Google them. The images end up being something like 25 kilobytes, and they work perfectly, and it's a lot less fooling around. I am going to in fact show you how to do it, just in case you have some older games that you want to make your own images for that you can't find them for. And those have a very high probability of working because they use a lot older copy protection. Yeah, the version of the copy protection is much older. So the first thing I'm going to show you on the Damien Tools website is they have a game protected or copy protected game database, and it's just found right here on the main page on the side there. And it lists all of the games that are available, pretty much for all the copy protections, so you know what you're up against, and not only what emulation you need to use later on, which you can activate here, but also what method you should be using to create your mini images, or even if you may not even need one for a lot of the older protections. So we're going to do Ghost Recon, and as we can see, it's Secure ROM version, or Secure ROM I should say, version 7.0. which is pretty recent. Big pain in the ass to get around, but I'll show you some basic ways. So let's get started, I guess. The first thing you want to do is install Damien Tools, and then install Damien Script and Alcohol 120 as well. If you can't install this, you're going to be hooked later on because it gets more complicated than that. The final thing is the Secure ROM loader, which is basically just a zip file or an RAR file, and it has what's called ASR.exe inside of it. Now this is an exe. Basically what it does is it just loads the game file, the protected game file, and bypasses the blacklisting that the protection causes. There are ways to create, like you can use a load or the R command and the path to the game as stated in the help text file. That'll keep you from having to look it up every time you run the program, which is basically what happens when you run it. It just asks where your exe is. So we'll be creating macros for all that, and we'll be basically doing it so you just double click on an icon and it'll run your mini image and it'll run everything. For some reason my version unregistered itself, so I just skipped through that, as you can tell. So we're going to be just using the image making wizard part of the program itself. We're going to be doing the Ghost Recon, which as we said has Secure ROM version 7. Secure ROM. I always keep pronouncing it wrong. Anyways, there's all kinds of different copy protections here that it can help you circumvent. So we're going to use Secure ROM. That's the version that we have, so we're just going to use that. It sets up everything we need for us. One thing I've noticed is that if you drop your read speed down to really low, you have a lot better chance of things working properly. And it just works that way for everything. So we'll just go next. So I've been saving everything there. Click Start. Now for the DPM or data position measurement, just leave it at 1 times, and it'll go nice and slow. This takes forever. It takes a really long time, so I'm going to skip through it. If you get errors while trying to create it, but trying to create the DPM measuring, just load up the game first and then come back and try and do it. That often works. So I'm just going to skip forward until it's done, and I'll see you on the other side. Alright, so a huge amount of time has passed, as you can see. It took us about 16 minutes to make this, and now it's just starting to create it, and then because it's going really slow, it allows us to make really nice and small images. I'm going to stop it at 1%, and I'm just going to stop it right there. I don't want to delete the file because I want to use it later. Now, this probably won't work, seeing as this is a fairly new game and it uses much higher end copy protection. However, it's handy to know how to do this, that when you have older games and you can't find the images for them, you can do that. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use Dialup to make some macros. However, you should first set up this ASR.exe and put it just in a directory that probably the same directory as your images are, or somewhere easy for you to find. I'll be going into how to use that later. I just made a folder on my C drive called images, and that's where I put my images, and that's where I put that file as well. So now we're going to load up Dialup, and we're going to create a script. I have one pre-made that just to speed things up here, so it doesn't take forever. But basically, all you do is you just create specific macros for the script. So you got a couple options down here. You can mount an image, you can unmount an image, you can change the number of devices that there are, you can change the emulations that are there, you can run specific programs, you can have a delay for a specific set time, or you can wait for an application to close, or for it to terminate, or for it to start. So the macro that I need to make for Ghost Recon is very simple. It's only got 3 items in here, and it's kind of nice and easy to put together. So the first thing you want to do is you want to create a mount, and the mount is basically you want to mount that image that you just made. Now I know that the image that I just made is messed up, which is this one here. So I'm going to mount an image that I previously downloaded that I know will work for sure, just so we can get along here. And then secondly, you want to create an emulation one, and you just want to have the secure ROM emulation going. That's all you really need. Just so you know, within this option, check mark means you're going to run it, a square means that it'll leave it as it is, and a blank means that it'll unrun it, or disable it. Then you want to put a run app in, and this is the very important step that I guess is probably the most trickiest part of all of it, is you want to make sure you run the ASR.exe and not the actual game file. Then you create a parameter for that exe, for that ASR, and you just add in -r and the full path to the actual exe of the game that you want to run that's protected. And just make sure startup directory is the same as the location as where the loader is. And that's it. And then you just save it, and you then want to create a shortcut, so you go shortcut, and I always like sticking mine on my desktop just because that's where I put my icons. You can call it whatever you want. For the icon, I always use, I'll just copy it right from here, I just always take the location of the actual icon and just dump it in there, and it'll pull the icon up for you, and then you just go create shortcut. I'm not going to do that because I already got one, so I'm just going to click cancel. And once that's done, you can just quickly close out of this, and that's pretty much it. You're ready to go. So you just got to double click on the icon you made. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that. So now all you gotta do is you just gotta click on the icon, and it should load the game up. And I don't know why that got brought up. We'll hide that again. And this takes a little while, so I'm gonna fast forward, but I'm just gonna prove to you that it actually does in fact work. So we got splash screens, which is good. And there we go. This probably looks all nice and messed up for you, seeing as I was recording in a low resolution, and it's probably just recording the top left hand corner of everything. But basically that proves that it works. So I'll just quit out of that, because you really probably don't want to watch this game. Well, that's all there is to it. It's nice and simple. If you have any questions, just post in the forums. I'll try to get some show notes up for some basic links. However, it's all pretty straightforward, and you shouldn't have any issues with any of this. So, that's it.
Hi, Dortz here, and in this short segment, I'm going to demonstrate using a system diagnostics tool called IATA32. But before that, I'm going to run you through a couple of checks to make sure your hard drives are running at optimum performance. The first is to make sure your hard drives are set to use DMA where available. I'll give a full explanation of DMA versus PIO transferring in the show notes, but for now, just know that DMA is better. So, in the System Properties menu, navigate to the Hardware tab, go to Device Manager, and let's get that in view. Navigate to IDE Controllers, and open up the properties for the primary IDE channel. You can check this for the secondary if you wish as well, but you can see in the Advanced Settings tab, there's the transfer mode, set to DMI if available. And the current transfer mode is Ultra DMA Mode 2. I don't know what that is. I know it's DMA of some kind. So, we'll just OK, close that, and we'll move on. Next, I'll go into Disk Defragmenter. Now, Windows stores files in rows of contiguous segments. As you fill the drive and erase files, move them, copy them, and all that, these segments will become fragmented and take longer to access. Look, for us, we have the Disk Defragmenter. I'm not going to go into it, but Disk Defragmenter is found in Start, Programs, Accessories, System Tools. Be sure to use that often, and I'm going to put instructions on the show notes for how to set up scheduled tasks properly for Disk Defrag to run automatically, because there's a little trick to it. But what I am going to show here is the boot optimize function for Disk Defragmenter. So open up your registry editor, just start run regedit, and navigate to the key HKey local machine software Microsoft DFRG, which is defrag, boot optimize function. Check the value enable, make sure that's set to Y. If it's not, just right click modify, set it to Y. Sometimes it's set to N, and you probably wouldn't have these values there. So typically it will be set to Y, but if not, there you go. And now we can get into the fun stuff. We'll start by Googling AIDA32. I already did this. It's freeware, well as popular. It's not that hard to find. So the version I have comes zipped. I just unzipped it, dropped it on my hard drive, and started up AIDA32.exe. Comes out of the box, no installation required. And I came up with this. So basically with AIDA, you can generate reports on any hardware or software on your machine. It's imperative if you ever need to find compatible parts. So, going over that, it's just Report Wizard, very easy to use, just like any wizard you ever used. And it'll generate a report for just about anything you need. That's going to take way too long, so I'm going to cancel that preemptively, and it's going to generate a report on the stuff that it did get. Not going to go through that because I did a software one, and I don't want you guys seeing my operating system software key. But two other things: the read and write benchmarks, memory read, memory write, very fun, very useless things to see how fast your memory read, memory write speeds compared to other system configurations. This is me, yay! I use a Dell. So my favorite though has got to be, like, my favorite everything for this is the plugins. Now, I could go over the other ones, but the one I'm going to demonstrate here is the disk benchmark, because there's something that you can do here to break your computer. I'm not actually going to run any of these real-time tests, because I don't know how long it's going to take, because I'm currently streaming video. Not a good thing to, try and do a disk benchmark during. Just, I am going to show you though here. Here's a basic thing that I did before. I just did a benchmark on an optical drive, but this is like I used daemon tools with it, so it's just kind of like a fake one. But that's just the basic. You have your average, you're gonna have the maximum, the minimum, how quick it was, and that. It's just a neat little report. Just one final note though: don't click this button to enable write tests on a disk where you have, you value the information on it. As the warning states, the write test will destroy all data on the tested drive. No. So, there you go. Have fun with AIDA32. Don't break your hard drive. And go ahead and bitch about it on the forums or on IRC if you do, so we can laugh at your dumbass. Again, I'm Dortz, and don't forget to practice safe hacking, guys. Later.
Today I'll explain how to upgrade your TiVo hard drive. The tools that will be needed are screwdrivers, a desktop PC with 4GB FAT32 hard drive, half a frickin' brain, TiVo, a new larger hard drive, and MFS Tools CD. Open your TiVo and place the drive in your PC. If you don't know how to do this, then I suggest you better not try it for yourself. Warning: don't boot into Windows with your TiVo drive. You won't be able to use it on your TiVo anymore. Check the show notes for more details. First off, notice how the BIOS reports your drive information. You need to know where your drives are later on. Let's freeze frame and take a closer look. Notice how primary master is my FAT32 hard drive. Primary slave is the 120GB hard drive. Secondary master is the optical drive, and secondary slave is the original TiVo hard drive. Linux will always report primary master as HDA, primary slave as HDB. Secondary master is HDC, and secondary slave as HDD. Let's boot the MFS tools and begin the process. Before I begin, you need to understand some basic things. We are booting into a small Linux distribution that is designed to manipulate TiVo drives. You can add, remove, upgrade, downgrade, and copy things to and from your drives. If you have a hard time detecting your drives, try the No DMA option when you boot. This might help. I don't need this option, so I just hit enter. As MFS tool loads, it will show a lot more information about the system. Once MFS Tools is done, you will be at a command prompt. If you need to review the status screen, you can always use Shift Page Up to look it over. Let's scroll up and verify where our drives are on the system. Here, notice how primary drive is my FAT32 drive at HDA. Primary slave is the new 120GB at HDB. Secondary master is the optical drive at HDC. And secondary slave is the original TiVo hard drive at HDD. And now, you can scroll back to the boot prompt by using Shift Page Down. Let's start with some basic navigation commands because you need to know how to get around your system. At any time, you could type pwd to print working directory and find out where exactly in the system you are. This shows us that we are in the lowest level of the system called root. If you want to see the files and directories, you can type ls to get a list. We need to go forward and backwards into and out of directories. Simply type cd and then the directory name to move into the directory. Now let's go into the mnt, otherwise known as the mount directory, by typing cd mnt. Now let's get a list by typing ls. Here we can see the directories C, D, E, and TiVo. Now that you know how to move around, let's start manipulating the system. We will need to mount the FAT32 drive. Mounting a drive means making it accessible for read or write functions. This isn't DOS or Windows, so things work differently here. We need to manually mount the drive. The first thing we need to do is make something called a mount point. A mount point is the directory from which the drive is accessed. We need to mount the FAT32 drive to a directory. So using the directory command, let's make a DOS directory. Simply type mkdir DOS. Let's make sure it's there. Type ls for the updated list. And here we see the DOS directory has now been created. Now let's mount our FAT32 DOS-based drive to the DOS directory by typing mount dev/hda partition 1. If you have multiple partitions on the drive, it will be HDA2, HDA3, HDA4, and so on. And we're going to mount this to mnt/DOS. Now that we have our FAT32 drive up and going, let's make sure it's accessible. Now type in cd DOS. Now do a list. Here are the contents of our drive. Yay! It worked! We have a file in here that we want to delete. To do this, we use the rm or remove command. So let's remove tivo.mfs. If you want to delete a directory, you can use the same command but just use the directory name. Let's verify that it's gone by doing another list. And now it's deleted. To go back a directory, we use the cd space ... command. And here we are back at the root of our drive. If you want to skip right to the mount/DOS directory, you can simply type cd/mnt/DOS. These are the basic navigation and manipulation commands that you will need to know. We can use an application called MFS Info to get information about our TiVo drive. Remember, the original TiVo drive is dev/hdd. Here we have the information about the drive. Notice how it tells us that this is a standalone TiVo with an estimated record time of 39 hours. The first thing that I would suggest you do is back up your original TiVo OS from your TiVo drive using MFS Backup. This is a list of the available options you can use. We obviously want the -O option to output a file. We can use the -1 to -9 to compress the image, which we won't do today for time's sake. We want to shrink the MFS backup with the -S option. You might need the -L command to back up some of the TiVo streams. In my case, this is needed. Make sure you point the MFS backup to the correct drives and paths. So let's MFS backup -L to save streams that are no larger than 9999 megabytes to /mount/dos/file name is tivo.mfs and backup to /device/hdd. Here's what it looks like. Depending on how you have the drives hooked up on your system will determine whether or not you will back up HDD, HDC, or whatever. This might take a little while, so sit back and be patient while the process just runs its course. When you restore your backup, if there is no background pictures or animations, you will need to use the -L option to back up streams. Newer TiVo software uses streams as backgrounds. If you don't back up the streams of, say, 9999 megabytes, then they will be left out of your backup and cannot be restored. Your TiVo will not operate correctly without them. So keep this in mind and don't fill it with your original TiVo drive until you have successfully restored the image of the new hard drive. Now that the drive is backed up, I would suggest you take the DOS drive out and back up this file. If you lose it and you mess up your TiVo drive, there is no way of restoring it. With that, let's restore and expand the MFS backup to the larger drive, in this case, a 120 gig hard drive. Start by typing MFS restore. Here are our options. We want the -X option to expand the backup to the entire drive. We want the -P to optimize the partition layout, and we want the -I to input the backup file. Let's tell MFS Tools to restore the new 120 gig hard drive, which is HDB from the TiVo image in /mount/dos. Now type in MFS restore -XPI. Path to the main backup file is /mnt/dos/tivo.mfs, which will copy and expand to /dev/hdb. This might take a little while, so sit back and relax. Once it is done, it will tell you how much space you had before and after you upgraded. If you are using a drive larger than 138 gigs, you might need to make sure that the TiVo OS supports large drives. This is called LBA48 support. If your TiVo OS doesn't have LBA48 support, you will be limited to a 138 gig per drive. Also, this version of MFS Tools does not have LBA48 support. The PDTV tool CD is built from MFS Tools. It looks a little different when it boots, but the process of backing up and restoring is the same. I know that the 7.2 version of the TiVo OS does in fact have LBA48 support, but I don't know about the previous versions. You can find out which is your version in the TiVo settings. DirecTV TiVos will need a custom hack to enable LBA48 support, so we will leave that for another day. Most PCs today have LBA48 support. Pretty much anything above a Pentium 2 class from 1999 will do just fine. The restore process is done, and now we have an estimated recording time of 126 hours. We went from 39 hours to 126. Now shut down using Ctrl-Alt-Delete. From here, it's a matter of plugging in your new drive and making sure it works. For more information, see the show notes. There is a full how-to guide on using MFS Tools on the net that I will link you to, as well as where to get the PDTV LBA ISO and MFS Tools ISO. Any questions? Hop right on IRC or the forums and we'll help you out.
Hi, my name is Codename Gamma, and in this segment we're going to be showing you how to upgrade your Xbox hard drive to a larger one. Now, some of the things you're going to need to do this are, of course, the soft-modded Xbox, a Windows-based PC with a CD or DVD writer, and a home network that you should already have your Xbox and your PC connected. Now, if you have all this stuff done, let's go ahead and get to the guide. Okay, some tools you're going to need to do this are Xbox hard drive maker, so check the show notes for that, Torque 10 and Torque 20 bits, and a normal screwdriver set, and a good knowledge of PC maintenance. I'm just going to run through these real quickly. You can go ahead and pause whenever you want to read these. And now go ahead and check your Xbox dashboard and make sure you have an IP address. If you don't have an IP address, you can go into settings and network and fiddle around with it and set your IP address manually or get one from the DNS. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to FTP into our Xbox through the 192.168.2.3 is my Xbox. And the username is going to be Xbox, and the password is always going to be Xbox. So we're going to go and connect. And as you can see, I have C, D, and E. You probably won't have F or G yet, but don't worry about it. Now we're going to go ahead and make a backup of drives C and E. So go ahead and go someplace where you know there's space. Create a folder called Xbox Backup, or whatever you want to call it. It'd be good to date them. You know, if you have a lot of backups, or if you plan to do this a lot for the people's Xboxes. And you just want to drag the C drive, let it copy, and then do the same thing to E. Okay, once it's done, we want to go ahead and exit Flash FXP and go ahead and open up our Xbox hard drive maker. There's a folder called Linux in there. We want to go and open that up, and as you can see, there's a C and E and then an EEPROM folder. So what we want to do is go ahead and move the contents of C over into the C folder. Just drag it in there. And then open up E and do almost the same thing, except we only want the dashboard folder and the BIOS LD folder. Let it copy. And that's all we need from this drive right now. Later we're going to restore its contents back onto the new drive. But that's it for now. Now go ahead and go back and go into the go ahead and go to the EEPROM folder and then copy over your EEPROM.bin and your hard drive info. You don't have to copy the hard drive info, I just do. And now you want to go ahead and go back and then run ISO or make ISO win, and it's going to make your new Linux ISO. Once it's done, you want to go ahead and burn linux.iso using DVD Decryptor or Nero or your favorite burning program. Okay, now we're going to go over a little bit about the Xbox Hard Drive Maker. Again, you can pause this at any time so you can read these slides. But basically, the Xbox hard drives are in the FATX file format and are locked to a custom key that's in the EEPROM that you just copied. So what Xbox Hard Drive Maker does is it actually reads that EEPROM and then generates a key based on that EEPROM that will be able to be unlocked by that Xbox. And go ahead and pull out your primary master, or go ahead and connect the new primary master that's going to be your new Xbox hard drive, and connect that to a PC. Make sure it's primary master. Connect a CD-ROM or DVD-ROM to the secondary master, and go ahead and boot off the Linux DVD. And we'll see how that works out. Okay, now we're booting our PC. And of course we want to boot from CD. And we want to go into VGA console. And it might ask you about the video mode, just press space. And then we want to go ahead and type Xbox HD. And then type yes. Then we want to go ahead and press 1, build a new Xbox hard drive from scratch. And then it's going to run through this little script. And it's going to tell you, okay, well, there's stuff on the drive. You want to format it? Yes. Make sure you type out yes or no, otherwise the script will fail. It's going to go, okay, well, you also have a drive F. Do you want to partition this? Yes. And if you have a huge drive, like over 120, it will ask you about drive G. You want to go ahead and say yes to that also. And then it says searching for files. You want to go ahead and copy your stuff that you put on the CD to drive C. You want to go yes to that. And let it copy. And now you want to go ahead and do the same thing to drive E and copy over your dashboard. And then it's going to build your F and your G, and it's just going to format those and build them. So now we want to go ahead and quit and reboot our computer here. And again, we're going to go ahead and boot from the CD. And this time we're going to press 3 Linux with locking and unlocking utilities. And press space again if it asks. And it's going to boot Linux. The lovable penguin. And now we're going to go ahead and type lock HD -A. And press enter. And then it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to lock the drive? You want to type yes. And it's done. Now you can go ahead and turn off your PC and go ahead and stick that drive into Windows or into your Xbox and then FTP to it. Now you want to go ahead and see that your Xbox does boot and then FTP to it, and now we're going to copy over your backup stuff that you just did before. So go back to where you had it and just open it up. Open up E and then just drag everything over. And then if you have F, we want to go ahead and make folders. We want to make one called apps. We want to make one called music. And we want to make one called movies. Now then, we're going to go ahead and copy over a movie. So we're going to go into the movies folder. And I'm going to go to where I have my copies of BSoD. And of course these can be any AVI files or any media files that are played by the Xbox Media Center. And just drag it over and let it copy. And that's it, it's on your hard drive. Now you're done. Right now if you have a small hard drive that doesn't have a drive G partition. If not, you're going to have to boot into your softmod again. Of course, the usual Splinter Cell or whatever other exploit you used. A lot of people use MechAssault, which I found kind of interesting, but you want to boot them all the same way. Go ahead and load the Linux profile, and it's going to load Unleashed X. Now, if you go ahead and go to Settings, you should, and you can go ahead and mess around with the network settings, but you want to go ahead and get an IP address. That is your main goal, and make sure to do reset network and reset FTP to refresh those network settings and to get it working. Now you're going to FTP in there, and now you should see your drive G folder. And you want to do the same thing like we did to F just a moment ago. Apps, music, movies. And this time you actually have to copy something in there. So I'm going to do episode 2. Now, for some reason, it's a bug in Xbox Media Center that it doesn't like to see drive G. This is really the only way I've found to make it work, so as long as there's something on the drive, it'll say, oh yeah, well, the partition's here. And now we're done with everything. So you should be in Xbox Media Center now. And, well, that's it. So I hope you enjoyed the guide. Let us know how it went on IRC and the forums. Make sure to check the show notes. This has been Codename Gamma. And enjoy yourselves. Also, make sure to visit codenamegamma.com for this guide and many others that are written.